being cheated on ain't cool.
Yeah, you got that right.
Being cheated, it sucks.
Yes.
It sucks real bad. That will do something, and I don't know. I can't talk for a male, but for a woman, that will do something to you because when you're constantly having to endure that and putting up with that, which ladies, I would not. But when you're constantly doing that, you really start to look in your mirror. I really felt when Cardi B said in her lyrics, you got me looking in the mirror different, thinking I'm flawed because you inconsistent. It really spoke to me because that really was how I was feeling like, dang, what else could I do better, to make you want to just be with me and me only, and truthfully, it's not necessarily about the person. It really is about who the person that's cheating. That's what they're dealing with and why they feel the need to step outside of relationship or marriage.
It's a dirty truth for Deontay Young. Hit a main course, yeah, the entree done. Pull up on the gang, all the fly day ones. Tune in, come and see what Deontay done. It's a dirty truth for Deontay Young. Hit a main course, yeah, the entree done. Pull up on the gang, all the fly day ones. Tune in, come and see what Deontay done. Like, just vibe with it.
This is so cool. Guys, my birthday was this week, and I just want you to know, this is The Dirty Truth with Deontay Young. I am Deontay. We have a smoker for you today. We have the great Brittany Knight, Miss Britt. She is the creator and host of the Beauty Told podcast. She is also the co-host of the #1 podcast in Cleveland, and it's called The Pull-Up Experience. I was a guest on that show back in 2023, but Brittany is spilling the dirty truth like no other, so get ready. This episode is officially called Realizing That I'm Good Enough, and let me tell you, Miss Britt does her thing. She is spilling the tea like no other. And you know what? These balloons are absolutely amazing. My wife got them for me. Thank you. Shout out Billy Badass, a.k.a. Mrs. Young. Now, on to the episode. I have to mention that I am with the iconic Brittany Knight. I call her Brittany.
You won't be the first, or you
Right.
won't be the last.
But she is such a success story in my book, because not only does she go after what she wants, but she also is very impactful to people. And you always want to elevate other people. When you find your way out of your own burning building, you got to show other people how to get out of theirs, and that's what she does consistently. So I really appreciate you. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
What an introduction. Oh my gosh. I love it already.
So right now she is the creator and host of Beauty Told, which is a very interesting concept. She's also doing double duty on the Pull-Up Experience, and that is with the great Brandon Gates. She is stupendous and magnificent. But I want to really get to it. The first thing I want to ask you is, if you had your way, what type of energy would you like to be around you at all times?
Oh, you know what? I would say it's going to be the cliche answer. I like good energy. Good energy, you can be able to bounce off of that. If you're having a bad day, someone with good energy can help you to almost self-check yourself and be like, oh, I'm tripping. Like, this is, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still, like, God is still good. So good energy definitely helps you to be able to feed off of that, Yeah. And for the most part, I like to say I try to do the same, Yeah. So if I feel like I'm getting to my lows, prayer is a big, intricate part of my life where I'm gonna get myself back up.
Well, see, that's extraordinary, because that's a very detailed answer, which means that she really understands what she wants. And I got to tell you that's amazing.
Thank you.
You're probably going to think what I have to say is kind of strange, but it's the type of energy that I want around me is self-aware energy. Because it's so difficult to find people that are self-aware.
That's true.
And the #1 reason why I married the woman that I did is because she evolved herself to become very self-aware. And we'll talk about that. But I really want to start with you. Let's go back to the very beginning of your journey.
Right.
Where exactly do you come from?
So, I'm going to start with the basics. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, okay? And when I say where I've come from, I'm come from Single parent household. It was not your ideal household, by the way. So single mom, but that generational curse is real, and not only that, but when you are a young mom and you're doing it alone and you're dealing with all the stresses of the world, sometimes you tend to take it out on other people, you know. So I dealt with that, to kind of sum that up. But it's part of my story. I used to pray to God, like, why me, out of all people, having to, endure what I endured. But fast forward to today, now I realize, like, it was to be able to get me into my purpose and to be able to realize that you can just be a light that shines in someone's dark place, So, yeah, I would say that's where I come from. It's just overcoming some things.
Well, that's awesome. So, I wrote a book called "Face It, You're Toxic," and in that book, I talk about how all of us have been abused in some way, shape, or form as a child. We all were abused, whether it's physical, psychological, sexual, or even just overhearing your parents argue all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then we end up being toxic to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to know, when you were a kid, did you ever experience any of that? Did you feel less than? Did you have self-doubt as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I love, this, the dirty talk, because I've never really revealed this side. I've actually contemplated whether I was ever going to bring this to Beauty Told as something that, of enlightenment. But yeah, as a child, I went through the verbal, the physical, of course, it causes emotional, just because of what all you're taking in. And, it was a lot, and a lot of times you tend to you want to still protect your loved ones, so you tend to kind of try to shelter what you're going through. You don't want anyone to see, so you're trying to cover up what's clearly and obviously. I'm very much fair-skinned, so it's very hard to hide things. But it was a lot, it was a lot to have to just go around. And again, you look in the mirror and ask, like, what have I done to, deserve this? And what I had to eventually realize in adulthood, because like you said, it will travel with you. Because even though I eventually exited the home, you get grown, go to college and all that type of stuff. I lived with my dad during my college years or whatever, and last year of high school. But what I realized is just sweeping under the rug is not good enough.
Right.
Because that pain, that trauma that you went through is still there. And what I realized, and I think I've told in my episode, is that it came out in my marriage. And I didn't even realize that I was literally doing the same thing that I endured, as a victim. Now I'm treating someone else in similar manner, not putting my hands on them, okay? Let me clear that up.
Right.
But your words can be cutthroat, and so I realized that I was kind of, spewing out, verbal abuse as well, and didn't know how to receive love. So eventually, that will come to heads, even when you're trying to be with someone that you were trying to be with forever. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you don't tackle, that would probably be my biggest thing, is people, if they don't tackle what they've been through, it's just sitting there. It's going to eventually just continue to, almost like a volcano, it's going to erupt eventually. So yeah, I would say therapy is your best friend. It can be your best friend to get through that.
Yeah, so the dirty truth fact is that we might be done with our past, but our past is not done with us.
Oh,
and that's just the way it happens.
That's true.
Something could have happened 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and you think it's in the rearview mirror, but then it can show up on your windshield.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you're just like, wait a minute, I thought this was past.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at all of the answers to your problems now, they lie in your past experiences.
They do.
Because everything you overcame, it actually, happened not to you, but for you.
Okay.
All
right, Deontay, with the words of wisdom. I wasn't ready for all this.
I like the fact that you brought up the whole marriage thing, because I was really intrigued when I found out. Well, the funny thing, first of all, you said that you were a professional ass wiper, which was really interesting. I happen to be a professional ass licker, but
Lord Jesus, you about to make me tear
that's my dirty truth.
Oh my goodness.
Actually,
well, all right.
We're kind of similar.
Kudos to the wife, I guess.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She gets to enjoy it.
Oh man! Oh wow! Who said crack was bad?
Ooh.
But anyways, so so your relationship that turned into a marriage. I think, were you the other woman initially, and then, or were she was the other one?
Yeah, you know what? That's crazy. Yes, I was.
You never thought of it that way?
You know what? It took a minute for me to realize it, but I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like playing the side chick role.
Yeah.
And this was in the relationship side. So again, in my defense, so I'm gonna shout out Donisha, my bad, because I definitely tried to exit said relationship when I realized, like, no, I'm not about to play second fiddle to nobody. But, again, words have power. So he's up here, oohing and ahhing and, loving me in the bed. And I was back in a relationship that clearly was toxic from start, But it's amazing how you try to make that work.
Yeah. I know that you met him kind of under like false pretenses in a sense.
Yeah.
And that's the thing relationships are so interesting because you really need them in order to become better people. You actually need bad relationships to become better people.
Oh my gosh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where when I was younger, because of my girlish figure, I felt like that I was like nothing to girls, right? And so I used to always just every guy I felt was better than me and every girl was too good for me. That was my perception, right?
Okay.
But what happened is I had to get the validation from women to realize that I did not need the validation from women.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
That's deep, yeah.
And so I think that what happens is that because of the trauma we face in our childhood, because we're always abused no matter what, whether we know it or not, we become our worst enemy because we're the one that tells us we can't do this, we can't do that, we're not as good as this person.
Yeah.
We never start off feeling any negative way about ourselves. Other people put that into us.
That's
so
true.
and that
That's
leads to you feeling the way you feel and being susceptible to these crooks out here. These, I say, emotional crooks. They steal your emotions and fill it with what they want.
Yep.
And so I was so really enamored with your story about how you got into this marriage. And then you also had a tragedy with the lost child.
Yeah.
But this situation where your car got painted over or whatever. Like what
Sure.
if you can say if you can like really spill your dirty truth about the relationship that you were in, what were the things that just made it collapse on its very foundation?
So again, it didn't seem okay. So relationship wise, it did collapse when I realized that I was like, quote unquote, fighting for someone's love. So it was always the child's mother and me, and then of course I found out there were even every now and again little sprinkles of other side chicks. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? And for me, just realizing that I don't have to keep going, because I was hitting like low lows, you know what I mean? Like I already had dealt with childhood and being in that low, and then you fast forward to now, and now I'm still feeling low in my adulthood. Like this is not right, and this can't be love. That's what I really had to question myself. Like, can this really truly be love? Like, should I be feeling this type of pain and distraught and being distraught over everything? So it did come a point where I did have to find my value and worth.
Yeah.
Because again, I was already feeling low from childhood. You get the verbal, you're not pretty, you're not this, you're not that, and you tend to believe it.
Yeah.
So, transferring that into my adulthood, really not too much had changed. Maybe I'm not, worthy of love, and maybe I'm not, gonna ever find someone that can truly be about me. And so, but once you start to realize, once you start to look in the mirror, once you start doing the self work and self check on yourself, to realize like, no, I am good enough. Like, I am pretty enough. Like, once you started to making that type of revelation, is game changing, and that's when I realized, like, I don't gotta take this.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? Like, I can leave, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a marriage. I can leave, and I can definitely do better. It almost reminds me, what was that movie of Tyler Perry's, where Taraji finally found her worth when she was dealing with that no good guy, and she found, oh man, it had Mary J. Blige and everything. It was a Tyler Perry movie. I know y'all can help me out. Y'all throw it in the comments. But
it wasn't Acrimony, was it?
It wasn't Acrimony.
Oh.
But it was I Could Do Bad All By Myself. That's what it was. Taraji was in it. And that movie, that pretty much sums it up. That's when I realized, like, there are good men out here that can treat me better. And even before they come into the picture, I can treat me better.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's really what it came down to. Because, yeah, honey, her spray painting my car. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm up here threatening her. She threatening me. And it's just, it was just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point we want to put hands on each other for what? You know? Like, this is not, as adults, this is not even how we should be interacting.
Now, some people, they like that negative environment. For some reason, they thrive on it, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
What I always tell people is that the most important thing is your environment. To me, I need my serenity.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was just a constant, toxic, negative,
It
environment. And how can you really ever thrive in that environment?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just like what I say about when you have a car full of smokers, but one of them is not a smoker. That's not their environment.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they're gonna choke in there.
Yeah.
Everyone that's a smoker, they can have the windows up and be fine.
Yep.
But so you're in a car with smokers, but you're a non-smoker.
Wow.
You know?
And then you still leave out smelling like smoke,
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
you weren't even the one that was entertaining it. So yeah,
Right.
that's a good analogy. Okay,
Yeah.
Beyonce. Them 22 months, look, I'd have forgot.
Yeah, you
I'd have
just
forgot how good you are with the words, the wisdom.
You are hilarious. But we talk about the dirty truth. So
Yeah.
the dirty truth wise, what would you say were your insecurities going into this relationship or even coming out of it? Because so many of us, we can't admit things. But I always tell people the strongest thing you can do is to show what's perceived as vulnerability in public. Seriously, that is by far the strongest. If you tell me, yeah, I ain't got nothing wrong, I'm this and that, well, now I know you're weak.
Yep, that's
Now I know
right.
you're weak.
Ooh,
But,
okay.
like if you were a stronger person, you would cry in public.
Wow, yeah.
Think of it that way.
That's good.
So what would you say your insecurities were, or maybe you still deal with them now?
No, that's a good question. I wouldn't say that I'm struggling with them anymore, but definitely my insecurities was just not feeling pretty enough, not feeling good enough. I really did struggle with that for a long time, and I did not want to admit that. I also did not want to admit that something was wrong with me, because again, when you try to bury what you've been through in your past and try to just move forward with your life, but it'll start, coming out in different ways. Again, I definitely held it to myself that I'm not going to take that out on my children. I don't care how angry I get. I don't care how upset they may make me. I'm not going to do what I went through to my children, because statistically they say you're 70% more likely to do it to your children or your family when you've endured it. So I wanted to break that curse, And again, when you don't realize that you are pretty enough, you are good enough, you will pretty much just deal with the nonsense. You'll deal with the foolishness, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be friendships, whether it be other family, So realizing that I'm good enough, that took a while, because again, you just sometimes put yourself in like a little box, and you don't think that you can be able to ever step outside of that. And I'm talking about even when I was going through like college and trying to find what's going to be the best suited job for me. I'm like, I don't think I'm smart enough to do that, or that might be above where I'm at, and intelligence wise. So you do have to start shifting the mind.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we tend to not, we don't exercise enough, is, our mind and being able to expose it to different things. Who said you can't? You know what I mean? The only person that gets in the way of that is you. So when I started realizing that I need to move Brittany out of the way, in a sense, and really be able to realize that I can do certain things, like it's elevation from here. You know what I mean? So never would I've imagined being on the podcast, because I've always been a person that's been in my shell. That could have been insecurity too. I've always just been very closed off, very in my shell, really didn't talk to people or socialize to a certain degree unless I really got to slowly get to know you. But I'm just starting to be like, I need to get outside of that. And it was not until year 2021 that my word for that year was shift. And by shifting, you have to sometimes make yourself uncomfortable. And that was one thing that Brittany did not do.
Wow.
But when I realized that I was going to start to be uncomfortable, because I gave God my word, like, Lord, the only way I'm going to grow is if I be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you lead me. If it be your will and way, things are going to align correctly. If people approach me with certain, things that they would like for me to do, I'll know that it's from you, and I'll say yes. And that was literally, so 2021 up until now, that's what I've been doing is I intentionally, because this is my word for this year, I always find a word for every year. This year is intentional, so I'm intentional about being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, bring it on. I'm ready for whatever life brings.
And one thing I know about you is that you love hitting your goals. And,
I do.
And, so that's an essential aspect of your personality.
Yeah.
And
you really did some research on me. You might know me better than me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people that I consider to be role models and world changers, I'm always full attention.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. I like the fact that you said that 2021 represented a turning point for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. So was that shortly after the breakup of your marriage, or was that like longer ago than that?
No. That's a good question. So 2021, August of 2021 is when the divorce actually became final. So we were already separated August of 2020. So we were already in the separation phase. And I think that made it just that much more easier to go ahead and, sever that all together. Like, yep, snip, gone. Because I was already starting to do the growth, the emotional growth, and just healing. I would say that was my healing time as well. So, yeah, 2021 was, man, that was crazy. Was that also when I decided to do the pull-up?
Yeah.
It might have been. Because, again, I was very much, okay, if someone proposes something to me and it makes sense or it at least will better me, then I'm going to do it, you know? So, yeah. 2021, yeah, that was definitely the year of shifting, and definitely had to part from the marriage that was no longer doing good for me.
If you had to really pinpoint three main things that you had to deal with that sucked in your relationship, what would you say those three main things would be?
Oh, Lord. Okay. Three things that sucked that I had to deal with. Well, for one, being cheated on ain't cool.
Yeah, you got that right.
Being cheated, it sucks.
Yes.
It sucks real bad. That will do something, and I don't know, I can't talk for a male, but for a woman, that will do something to you. Because, when you're constantly having to endure that and putting up with that, which, ladies, I would not. But when you're constantly doing that, you really start to look in your mirror. I really felt when Cardi B said in her lyrics, you got me looking in the mirror different, thinking I'm flawed because you inconsistent. It really spoke to me because that really was how I was feeling like, dang, what else could I do better, to make you want to just be with me and me only, and truthfully, it's not necessarily about the person. It really is about who the person that's cheating. That's what they're dealing with and why they feel the need to step outside of relationship or marriage to try to fulfill a temporary satisfaction.
Okay.
So I would say number one was definitely cheating. Lies, dealing with lies was another one that sucked.
Yeah.
Because you tend to accept them until it really don't be making sense.
Yeah.
Maybe like, so you was at your friend's house all night. You know what I mean? Like, you just, So, yeah, cheating, lies, and I would say the thing that sucked, and this one's probably going to be a little out the box, is not realizing love. Because I didn't quite understand love because I never really received it as a child, you will tend to put up more than what you need to. And even when someone is trying to show you love, you can't necessarily receive it. So I think that sucked for me because maybe things could have been different in that, relationship. I'll never know. But I do know that once I realized that I got to start making the changes I need to start doing the work so that way I can properly love and properly receive love. And so, yeah, those things sucked.
So, right. So, the beauty of life experiences is that, like I said before, it takes you to a different level of understanding yourself. Yeah. More than anybody, we actually know ourselves less than we know other people, as it turns out. And so what I've come to realize is that, like you talked about being cheated on, and you talked about the lies, and you talked about the love thing. what I've come to realize is that the things that we go for people initially in the beginning is something that is really a big joke when you think about it, because most people, I don't even know. Let me backtrack on this.
Yeah.
When you first met him, what attracted you to him that say, oh man, I want him?
Oh, that's a good question. All right, so I do tend to like the chocolate, So he was nice. Now I could tell the way he was, because again we met when I was a nursing assistant. I could tell that he was kind of very much flirtatious, because different nursing aides he would be flirting with, or even nurses. But I think it was his persistence towards me that made me really like, okay, what is it about this guy? Because at first I was brushing him off. I'm not gonna lie, cute or not, like boy bad, But it was just his persistence of kept coming to me, kept trying. No matter how many times I keep saying no, you just kept coming. So I'm like, he doesn't give up easily, which most guys would, after so many no's. So I'm like, maybe I should give him a shot and see what could be,
Mm-hmm.
And again, it started off great. Obviously, it had to have started off great for it to eventually lead to a whole marriage. But in the midst of that is when things started to go south, because he hadn't quite let that previous relationship go before trying to start anew with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he messed up at. But then I also messed up too by not allowing or not realizing that, you need to. In order for, you can't, I'm the prize. You can't get this prize when you still dealing with, her over here. Like, that's not fair to neither one. It wasn't not fair to neither one of us looking back. And, if I ever see her again, I definitely would apologize. Because, woman to woman, should have walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I say that is because in my book, I'm Done Kissing Your Ass.
I can't get over the title. Your titles be, listen, that would grasp my attention at a bookstore, at a library. Like,
Yeah.
what? I gotta see more about this.
Yeah. So what I've come to realize in that book, what I write is I talk about how what we do is we go after the things that's plentiful, but we don't even look at the things that's rare. So a case in point. Anybody, let's face it. You can find a gigantic cock anywhere. You can find a woman with a big, huge rack anywhere, a nice
That's
ass.
true. Mm-hmm.
You can find people that'll spend money on you. You can find people that have expensive cars and will take you places. All that stuff comes a dime a dozen.
Yep.
The thing is that people say, oh, yeah, I want a man that got a huge dingaling and got a great job and all that kind of stuff, or whatever. But what they don't realize is that stuff is such a dime a dozen that it's going to ultimately be your downfall.
Yeah.
The things that's rare is things like sincerity, generosity, kindness, trust, standing by your side, being that kind of person that you can go to somebody and be your full self and not worry about judgment.
That's
someone with great self-awareness. So when we go in for the guy with the big, huge ding-a-ling, or the girl with the Kim Kardashian ass, what we're doing is making an ass of ourselves. And then what ends up happening is that we're like, oh man. It's like, it's because you went through the wrong. When people say, oh, I want a man that got a good job and a nice body and all that, I'm like, wow, your standards are low.
Very.
Because,
Very.
and that's the thing. And the thing about my wife is that she made herself undeniable. People laugh when I say this, but I had no intention of being in a relationship. I was just planning on having one night stands for the next 20 years. But no, seriously, because because commitment is just like, what's the point? But she did the work on herself, and I've never seen a human being ever, of all the people I've ever met, have the kind of self-awareness that she now has. Imagine how great it would feel if you were in a relationship and someone said, okay, babe, I'm sorry, that was my fault. But it almost never happens.
That's true.
The thing about her is that we had rocky roads because she was taking her past relationships and bringing them into our relationship.
Yeah.
And so therefore she came true with her dirty truth and said to me, you know what? I had to realize that not all men are the same, and you're not like everybody else. You actually listened to me. I couldn't express my emotions to other men. They would say, oh, that's a long time ago. But you listen, you let me be me. Wow. And she said, I had to check myself and say, girl, you can lose him. How many people would say that and admit that to the person? So some of the best things of our days is when will just think, I'm sorry, I slammed that door. I wasn't even mad or something like that, and I'm just like, you don't even have to be that way. You don't have to apologize for that,
Yeah.
never say sorry to me, things like that. And just having that type of synergy and that type of communication is next level. So the people that's chasing the things like how you were talking about, it's like you're chasing the wrong thing. It's like you want to be a vegetarian, but you're running to every bag of Doritos you can. Right?
Yep.
So I mean that's all I'm saying. So I just think that's really powerful, and I think that you have definitely had a very transformational experience. And like
Yeah.
you said, in 2021, your word was shift.
Yep.
And that's a big deal because it means that you grew from something. You don't go through it, you grow through it, and that's what
Yeah.
you did. And like I said, I have to tell you, your value is higher now because now you are a resource for someone that's 10 steps behind you.
Yeah, that's good, Deontay. I love that. Thank you. And blessings to you because that you're right. It's very rare that women will self-check and self-evaluate themselves, and accountability is so huge that nobody really likes to take ownership of. I deal with that even with my youngest son. Like, son, take accountability. If you drop the ball, he plays basketball. Okay, you caused that turnover. Stop making excuses and make adjustments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from childhood to adulthood, like you said, even those that are older than us that still struggle with, you got to take that accountability. You have
Exactly.
to. Yeah, that's good.
I think that you are such a resource for people because everything that you went through was very important because of what you can give to other people.
Yeah.
Okay? So this treacherous relationship that you were in, I think what it did is you can take that trash and turn it into treasure.
Yeah.
And I think you've already started that process. So basically, when you're talking about a guy that's always going to lie, a guy that's always cheating and things like that, what it does is it sharpens your senses for what to look for. And it makes you look for, let's just say, a higher quality of meat.
Okay.
So what he was the 85-15.
Yeah.
You're going to have the 97-3 now.
Okay.
Where it's just you're trimming the fat because you've learned that, hey, that meat was not best for me. Okay. So when you grow, you have more of a value for other people. And that's the thing that I like. The fact that he was lying to you, that actually put a dent in your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And when your relationship with yourself is not what it should be, then you start to second and third guess yourself.
Absolutely.
That's the last thing you need to do. But then you realize, wait a minute, if it doesn't define me, it can't confine me. Okay? That's what my book, Fuck Your Insecurities, is about, right? So if you...
I have to go to the store and get all your books at this point. You're talking wisdom.
Right. So it's like if somebody say, oh, you got a big forehead, or, you're 600 pounds or whatever. It's like, okay, that you say that to say what? If it doesn't define me, it can't confine me. It's just like, that's the whole point. So it's like, listen, I'd much rather you tell me something that's true about me rather than something that's not.
I know that's
Okay.
right.
So own it.
Yeah.
Like, what I always say, and I have the t-shirts now, it's called Embrace Your Dirty Truth. Because, think about it. When you embrace your dirty truth, that means that you have a solid relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, you need to have relationships with 3 people that are great. Number 1 is God.
Yeah.
Number 2, yourself. Number 3, your former self.
Ooh, okay. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, because the problem is that people start saying, oh, no, that was me back then. Look, listen, never apologize for any previous version of yourself because it brought you to who you are now. Okay, so love like crazy the version of you before the shift. Love that person.
I love it.
That person transformed you. That person helped you off the ground.
Yep,
Okay,
that's true.
and so now you're able to help everybody off the ground, literally and figuratively.
Wow.
So that is turning your trash into treasure.
All right.
Okay, and the fact is, you are an influencer. Now all of us are, but you are an active influencer.
Okay.
And you're influencing people in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because a drug dealer is also an influencer.
That's
right?
true. That's
but you're a
true.
positive influencer,
Yeah.
and that's what you want to be.
That's a good
So
example.
it took you to go through those things, and I gotta tell people, like, you're never down. You're either up or you're getting up. Okay.
Okay.
That's the thing. Always remember that.
Yes, I will.
Okay. And so you have such a light about
thank
you
you.
that it's beneficial that you
Yeah.
went through these things. It's
Yeah.
actually, and what I tell people also is that failure is profitable.
Okay.
It really is.
Okay.
You know?
It was profitable.
And so, now, of course, I don't have the little sound effects that Brandon has. But,
I know. You
know,
get them, trust me.
but I mean, I'm just telling you that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Now, you have grown in ways that I can't even, surmise. But you can tell me, how have you turned this trash into treasure? I gave you my opinion as to how you can do it, how you continue to do it.
Yeah.
But you tell me, how have you done that?
Well, first of all, kudos to you because, I mean, my goodness. I mean, you're blowing me away. I knew that this was going to be an epic episode. I did not realize just how much knowledge and gems you be dropping, Deontay. So, just got to give you your flowers while you're here, while I'm here.
Well, that means so.
What led me to turn my trash into truth, right?
Treasure.
My trash into treasure.
Your dirty truth.
My dirty truth for sure. Because listen, that was an embarrassing moment too. I was not telling nobody. Now, what I will say though, although I was not telling people verbally what was going on, I was writing each and every day what was going on. The good, bad, and ugly is what I like to phrase it. And it came to the point where August 2021 comes, everything, of course, is officially ended. And I'm like, well, Lord, what did I do all this writing for? Why did you have me to vow to you, to give my word that every day, no matter what I was feeling, I would write it down in a journal? What was that all for? What was the purpose?
Yeah.
Now, that was my question. Again, going through life, not realizing what my purpose is either, so just aimlessly, working jobs and trying to figure out, I got this college degree. What am I doing? So it was just like the questionable part of my life that I really was trying to get God to answer, And it wasn't until I was asked to be a guest co-host on the Pull-Up Experience that was life-changing for me. This is when I start to realize why my trash was going to eventually turn into treasure. Because the more I was interviewing phenomenal guests, such as yourself, make sure y'all check them out on the Pull-Up Experience, by the way. Great episode. But the more I kept meeting great individuals like yourself, the more I was starting to, the gears started going of, could I be an entrepreneur? I've always worked a 9 to 5. That's always been my comfort. That's always been me and my little square. And to be honest with you, 5 years ago, I didn't understand entrepreneurship, and I just thought it was the craziest thing when people decide to step out on faith and not know where their next dollar is coming from. My mind could not register that, But once I got on the Pull-Up Experience and realized that certain people that did that, they were able to make a way for themselves financially and have that abundance of wealth, that I'm like, oh, so entrepreneurship could pay if you really have the passion and purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So when I started realizing, what can I do that can help shape the world? What can I do to bring positivity to someone's life? And that's when I started referencing back to the journal and realizing, maybe what I went through wasn't just for nothing, because I really thought it was just for nothing. But when I realized, maybe I could be able to help somebody else not have to go through what I went through. What if I was able to give them advice or insight as to finding those red flags on someone, or realizing your value and worth early enough where you don't have to go through the heartache and pain, or at least hopefully not as much as what I endured. That's when I realized, could that be a podcast? Because now I'm trying to figure out where can I make my presence known to be able to get that to the people. And that's what birthed Beauty Told. I will say this, although I dealt with my mom, always putting me down and stuff like that, and saying I wasn't pretty or beautiful, other people were saying it. And again, it never stopped as I got older, oh, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful. And for me, I can never really accept a compliment without complimenting someone back. And I'm like, well, you're beautiful too. So that's what I started hearing that word, and I started playing around with it, and it's beauty in everybody, I'm realizing, And there's also beauty in telling your story and being able to get the gems. So
Yeah.
Beauty Told was born with me playing with that. And I have gotten so much positive, feedback from people, whether it be the guests that I have on, whether it be those that are watching, those that are listening. And that's when I started to really realize, oh my gosh, could this be my purpose?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yeah, it is.
Never would have thought it. If you had told me this 5 years ago, I never would have even imagined. But again, I do give kudos where kudos is due. It was Brandon bringing me outside my box because again, I would have loved to just hit the play button on the camera and help them record the episodes.
Yeah.
I really wasn't wanting to be in front of the camera, but I have such a love and respect for him that I'm like, sure, I'll be a guest co-host for 2 episodes. Well, what's the harm? And before I knew it, it was more than 2. It was 3. It was 4. And now I think it's over 100, or something plus. And of course, obviously, I'm no longer a guest. I'm actually the co-host on the Pull Up Experience, and I love what I do. I love being able to hear people's stories. I love being able to hear them give you their honest truth. Like, hey, I started from nothing, and I'm here. And I had to run into some bumps and bruises along the way, but this is where I'm at. And I want the same for my podcast, and I want to be able to have people, and I've had people tell me like, yo, your episode was just what I needed because I was able to get rid of that toxic person. Like, that's what I want to see is the growth and beauty in everybody. So I was able to turn my trash experience into a treasure that is my baby that I will hold tight forever.
Exactly. And it's because, like I said, the relationship and all other things, even when you were told that you weren't cute and pretty and all that stuff, that's great. And like I say, people like to denigrate, but you go where you're celebrated.
Yeah.
I always talk about go where you're celebrated.
That's good.
And what your thing is, Beauty Told, that's basically a place for people to come where they're celebrated. You were talking about plus size women and the harrowing experiences. You were just talking about short kings. I mean, all these types of things. There's just so many things that you are bringing to the world. Like I say, you carry a big light, and that's a significant thing. I just love the fact that you have that self-awareness, and you have this power now, because you everything that you went through. I just think it's extraordinary.
Thank you.
And now with that relationship, how exactly did it end? How did it end to transition you to this? Because you said the divorce was final in August 21. You said
August 2021. Yeah. So the funny and ironic thing about it is that it did not have to be. It was not a nasty divorce by any means. Did he want it? No. Did he give me some pushback with having him sign papers? Yes. But eventually, once everything signed and sealed and done, and the dust settled, we are still great co-parents. Like, from that point on, we still were mature enough to realize it was not about us and what we had been through. It was about the children. And I will give him his flowers. He still, even with the divorce, still helps my son, my oldest son. He still takes him as his own. Because his biological father, although he's in his life, he's not in his life as a real father should be. And I will say my ex-husband stepped in since he was just 1 year old, up until now my son's about to be 17. He's never missed a beat. If he needs money, if he needs a ride to work, if he's messing up in school, like he is that, So I love that we can still be able to co-parent. We're still, we're still cordial. We're still friends. So divorce does not have to be ugly. I know that also gets, a negative perspective as well as like, oh, y'all divorced, so, it had to been ugly. I know y'all can't stand each other. It's none of that. It's none of that. I can call him. He can call me. We're literally cool like that. But we just know that this is the best, for both of us. So,
that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know you have a new guy that you're crazy about.
I am. So, oh, my gosh.
You talk about giving me flowers. I need you to give him a bouquet of flowers.
Oh, for sure. He gets all the flowers and then some. And that's what I want my beauties is what I call them, Beauty Told. I want my beauties to know that there could be something so much more better on the other side once you get past what was that nonsense that wasn't even supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like, because I met a guy that, to your point, has, that cherishes me, that is selfless, that is caring, that is loving, that is all those things.
The rare qualities.
That's it, the rare inner qualities. It ain't about the big meat. It's not about the physique, even though he has a great physique.
Right.
But it is just about how he betters you and your life and brings a different. He brings different. That's how the best way I can describe it. He brings different, and it's a great different, and it makes me different in a better way too. Yeah. Like, I get to learn from him, he gets to learn from me, and before you know it, like, time has flew, and I really haven't even realized I've been enjoying myself so much. We've almost been 10 months strong, and not one argument, not one disagreement. Like, it's just literally just been going great.
Right.
So, baby beauties
Right.
and gents, it can get better.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, and like I said, so actually that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, because you already went through the dreary rain and all that kind of
For
stuff.
sure.
I think you're exceptional, and I just think you're going to continue to grow and elevate people. That's the positive about all this stuff, and that you are using your dirty truth for good.
Okay.
And that, some people use it for bad. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want Puffy's lawyers coming after me.
We don't need that.
I don't need R. Kelly's lawyers to come after me. I don't need Bill Cosby's lawyers to come after me. I don't.
Stand away from that. Stay away from that.
Yeah, let me stay away. Anyways, but yes, it's been great. I can't wait to see what comes next with you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything in the works?
Huh?
You have anything in the works?
Oh, that's a great question. So in the works is this way y'all can hold me accountable. I'm talking about accountability. So my faith journal, I try to make sure it's in every episode of Beauty Told. Now, as you can see, it's falling apart. It's doing its thing. It's losing. I only got a couple more pages left now. So the goal is that I will have my own Beauty Told journal, so that way we can all be able to grow and glow together. So again, keep me accountable. Clip this, and that way I make sure that I stay on top of that. But yeah, I'm definitely, Beauty Told journal is coming. I already have apparel, so if you guys ever want to, rock with your girl in that way. So just definitely different things are coming about that, again, I never would have thought of. And I may have to get with you on coming up with a book, because I feel like a book has been stirring in me for quite some time. I once upon a time tried to start a book. I was on my Microsoft Office, like starting to type. And you know how you just start something and don't finish,
Well,
maybe you could be the one that.
Well, of course, all the experts should have a book, and you are definitely an expert. You've already turned the page on your previous life, but you've brought the lessons to this current life, and that's what we really appreciate and admire about you.
Thank you.
You
Gosh.
are a worthy person of my dirty truthers.
Is that what we talk? Okay, the dirty truthers.
Yeah.
Love y'all.
Well, it's just like I said, no surprise, Miss Britt killed it. Brittany, thank you so much. You are a true to life dirty truther. And guys, always remember to embrace your dirty truth.
It's a dirty truth for Deontay Young.